That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Beckett, the sophomore film directed by Ferdinando Cito Filomarino, which premiered a short while ago at the 2021 Locarno Film Festival and is being released courtesy of Netflix August 13th, 2021.
This director's first film?
I have not seen, it's called Antonia, about a 1930s Milanese poet, but he's probably better known as the second AD of Luca Guadagnino. So he's kind of Guadagnino's protege. So he was the AD on the Suspiria remake, Call Me by Your Name, and A Bigger Splash.
So I watched the trailer for this movie with Naked Singularity.
Okay.
And I was more excited for Naked Singularity. That looked interesting. This one looked like it was going to be very lukewarm. Naked Singularity ended up being a dud. And then this one was like...
This one is such a strange bird, and I'm not going to say I like the experience of it, but I feel like all of the choices that were being made were for specific intentions, but I don't know if that makes for an interesting film, especially one that, even as the Netflix trailer suggests, is trying to be kind of an espionage thriller.
It was a fail for me. The point I was going to make is I don't enjoy talking about movies I didn't like. Like, it's just not fun. Like, the experience wasn't fun either, because it's not so bad that it's amusing. But anyway, to me, the general story... Beckett, played by John David Washington. He's in Greece with his girlfriend April, played by...
Oscar winner Alicia Vikander.
What does she win for?
The Danish Girl.
Oh.
But you have seen her and stuff. She's all over the place.
They're in Greece. I couldn't understand... They're supposed to be on vacation, but at a point, we're told that they've been there for 8 months. So that was confusing to me, because... Beckett acts like he doesn't understand Greece at all. Like, he doesn't know where he is or anything. So it was confusing that they had been there that long. But anyway, he's there with his girlfriend. They get into a car accident, which ultimately ends up with the car crashing into a house. Beckett wakes up in a hospital. He finds out April, his girlfriend, is dead. And he's told, well, sign these papers and we can get her body released to the US and we'll get you on your way. But he has a few questions, like, can I see her? And the cop who's helping him asks him about, what happened. And Beckett says, oh, yeah, we crashed into this house and I saw...
The cop says it's a good thing no one was there.
No one was in the house you crashed into. And Beckett says, oh no, I saw someone, a woman and a kid.
A redheaded kid.
A redheaded kid. Okay, so in the backdrop of this story, in Greece, there is some political turmoil because a famous politician, his son has been kidnapped. Mm-hmm. So we see it on the news, we see protests, we see signs for a missing child. That is this redheaded kid. Okay, so... The cops are like, no, you're probably just whatever, but, we're going to get you on your way back to the U.S. Well, Beckett decides that he's going to go to the site of the accident, to the house, because he wants to see, what's what. And while he's there, a woman shows up and starts shooting at him. And then that cop who was helping him starts shooting at him. So we know there's some bullshit. And the bulk of the movie is Beckett just running.
Trying to get to Athens to the embassy.
He gets to the embassy, and the officer who's there helping him, who's played by...
Boyd Holbrook.
It's obvious that this person is not legit, which we can get into, but the cops are in cahoots with the, political group who kidnapped this boy, and the embassy agent, diplomat person is also in cahoots. So he's also trying to quiet Beckett, meaning kill him. But Beckett's able to escape, and then the last part of the film is Beckett trying to find that cop. Because I don't know if he thinks that'll clear his name, but in the process of finding the cop, he ends up finding the boy. The end.
There you go.
Where to begin?
Was there anything that you liked?
The only thing I liked is, I don't like how the film was shot, because at some points it felt like I was watching a soap, the style of a soap opera, but I did think it made Greece look lovely, which is already my impression that Greece is a beautiful country. So watching the film, which I think is there's no tension to the story. And then what makes it worse is Greece looks kind of, it's made to look pretty lovely. Like, oh, I'd want to visit there even despite this political uprising.
And I think I want to revisit more about that later, but it was shot by Sayombhu Mukdeeprom, who has shot Guadagnino's past few films, as well as Apichatpong Weerastickel's Uncle Boonmi, who can recall his past lives. So clearly a notable cinematographer. There was, and it's going to sound like it's stretched, but there was one sequence I really liked, and it's kind of in slow motion where John David Washington is beating up that cop.
You like that scene?
Yeah, I liked the slow. I thought that had a nice vibe compared to other action sequences in here. And I also really liked Vicky Krieps.
Who's she?
She is...
oh, I didn't mention
what's her name? Lena.
So that lady plays an activist who Beckett runs into, and she's able to assist him for a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's unclear if they're her and a character named Talia, played by Daphne Alexander. It's unclear if they're lesbians, but they're clearly willing to help him and also feed us some exposition about Karas, this politician, who we're told is trying to correspond with the EU even after they put sanctions on Greece. So there's some real world subtext there, and apparently they think the cops, based on what John David Washington said, are working with this far right ultranationalist group called Sunrise, which is kind of a very obvious reference to Golden Dawn, which is a very real life similar group in Greece.
But that scenario you explained in the film is very diluted.
Yes.
So it's not like even, I feel like it wasn't even necessary.
Well, because I'm unclear by the time we get to where the resolution is what that means for Greece overall.
Right.
And if it really is making some kind of statement about a financial crisis.
Also, I think the boy is the nephew of the famous politician, not the son.
No, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, just going down my notes. So this is the third film I've seen with John David Washington.
So Malcolm and Marie, co-starring Zendaya. We can say her name right now. What else? You haven't seen Black Klansman, which is Tenet?
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, so I've only seen him in one other thing. But my thought about him in Malcolm and Marie or Malcolm and Eddie, whatever it's called, his body language is so off.
It's almost like he's trying to do this method thing that comes off as jarring almost.
His posture when he's sitting is pronounced. Like it's a choice, unless he has like scoliosis, I don't know. Then his general affect, also he's so flat, but I would say if you took out all the scenes where Beckett is running, this movie would be like 22 minutes long. All he's doing is running, but he's flailing about.
Yes, he's kind of has this jarring affect, but again, I think that's on purpose because this characterization is he's a man that's prone to panic attacks. He seems to have no survival skills whatsoever, and even throws himself off of cliffs and off of trees and in ways that seem kind of laughable.
Yes.
But again, I think so. Casting is interesting here because it's giving us weird clues, because you have Alicia Vikander, who's in it only for 15 minutes, and she's such a notable presence, which I think lends itself to some interesting subtext in her part. And then Boyd Holbrook shows up, and it's unbelievable that John David Washington, based on his experiences, would not suspect Boyd Holbrook of any kind of weirdness. But casting-wise, Holbrook showing up, you know that he's up to something nefarious. He's clearly not a good guy based on casting alone. But Vikander they're shown it to be this couple that's kind of maybe new and fresh the way they're navigating, and then.
But that's why I'm confused, because they have no chemistry.
They have no but their
But they've been in Greece for a long time together.
Yeah, well.
Right?
I'm not sure.
We're not sure. I
but,
swear that he said they had been there for 8 months. But anyway, continue.
What I'm trying to say is the conversations they have are really kind of bizarre, because they're like making up in that cutesy way that couples do scenarios for the strangers they see around them, and he's like, your scenarios all end up being sleazy. It's a style. And then she has this weird monologue about figures in a landscape. We're just figures in a landscape, which is really what this film is this black man running around Greece in this omnipresent whiteness, kind of. Even his wardrobe is like, he's wearing this yellow
He's
flannel.
wearing this yellow flannel, this black man with this yellow flannel thing, looking like a cheeseburger, running around trying to be discreet. It's just like, and it's flailing about.
Yeah, so again, I think those choices are on purpose. I just don't know that they work for what the intention is, and if it has anything to do with, because the title, this wasn't the original title of the film, but his name, Beckett, of course brings to mind Waiting for Godot, and that play is all about, you've seen a Beckett, you've seen Diane Wiest and Happy Days on stage. Godot is all about kind of prolonging any kind of action and just people talking, and the figures in the landscape bit, that's what that had me thinking, that there's maybe these ulterior intentions, but it doesn't make for a film that you want to be like The Fugitive, and with Harrison Ford, the Andrew Davis film, which it bears a lot of similar resemblances to.
I don't understand making the lead character so feeble.
Again, I think it's like an anti-hero kind of vibe, like this is not what you expect. But again, he just has no self-preservation tactics. He does in that he runs and runs and runs, but...
and doesn't accomplish anything, because we don't know that he is like exonerated of... He did assault, like he shot the bad cop, so there's that.
Well, and he beats Boyd Holbrook with a pipe pretty
Right, so
severely.
it's like he's probably not in the clear. It's very unsatisfying.
It's unsatisfying in the way of like a stranger in a strange land political espionage thing, like... Ken Loach did a film in 1990 with Francis McDormand called Hidden Agenda that I was thinking was trying to do that, or maybe even like Alan J. Pakula's films like The Parallax View. But instead it's just like, it has this thing like Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard about Greece's relationship with the EU.
There are several moments that are like unintentionally funny, like the car crash. The way it's shot, like you just see this car roll off the cliff and then it like bounces. And then when it runs into the house, it looks like if you've ever been on the Universal Studios tour and they go through those like, you know how they used to do like, what's the new one? Fast and Furious, where they, like you see car crashes happening in front of you. That's how it looks and feels, like not well done. Then when he's being shot at initially, that was comical because you kind of see him ducking in the bushes. Then him jumping off a cliff to get away from these people. He like falls into a tree and it's almost cartoonish.
Yes, the car crash scene is actually very similar to the opening of The Nice Guys with Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe.
I don't have much time left. There is a lot of Greek being spoken with no subtitles, which whenever there's... It's like, okay, so clearly whatever these characters are saying is not important to the story, but then there's a lot of it. So when you combine that with all of the running Beckett is doing, it just feels like a lot of dead air, like a lot of time just like trying to fill up 90 minutes. And the film is 110 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was written by, along with Filomarino, by Kevin A. Rice, first-time script. And I think the intentions are to be kind of an anti-thriller almost, but then the way it's marketing suggests that we're supposed to take it that way.
When we first meet April and Beckett, they're in bed and they're having a tender moment, and April draws on Beckett's like palm with a pen, a heart. So at a point when he's getting his arm fixed up because he was shot and hurt his arm, he's telling the person, please don't cover that up. And then at the end of the film, we see that the little heart is there. Now, there is no way.
After all that, yeah.
After all he's been through the water, everything, that little pen-written heart is still there. I thought that was so corny.
I agree. The score you also commented on several times, and I had to agree that it seems also kind of a jarring element. And it's a Ryuichi Sakamoto, who's an Oscar winner for The Last Emperor. He scored The Revenant.
There are two scenes in particular where Beckett is running, of course, where the music, one of them is sort of like a frenetic jazz score.
Yeah, it's like kind of which is a throwback to there were a lot of scores and thrillers like that, 60s and 70s, that could have worked. Almost new wave feeling, but it feels really distracting.
Then the first mention of, or the first time we hear that music, it's kind of like Twilight Zone type music. I didn't think that fit at all. Okay, then the point where the famous politician is assassinated or shot. We don't know that he's dead, right? He's just been shot. Then there's like because there was already protest and people assembled around it. So now there's kind of like chaos. We spend a lot of time with Beckett sort of wandering around this area where everyone's sort of, I wouldn't call it like complete chaos, but it's just, you know, someone has just been shot and everyone's running. I didn't understand like why there's so much time spent on that. The slow motion fight scene that you said you liked, I thought looked so cheesy because it looked like they didn't have like a fight choreographer train these two people on how to fight. So they were just like, fuck it, pretend you're fighting and we'll just slow the shit down. That's what it looked like to
Well,
me.
I thought that was one of the few sequences where the soundtrack and the vibe of it actually all kind of coalesced in a pleasing way to me.
Okay, then at the end when Beckett is chasing the bad cop who's driving this old BMW around, there is a scene where Beckett is like on the 4th floor of a parking garage, like hanging off the 4th floor, and he sees this BMW coming, and this fool jumps off the parking garage and lands on top of this car. Looked so corny, so crazy, and he puts a huge dent in the car. Like, there is no way that man got up from that.
It does look crazy. Meanwhile, the kid's in the trunk, and Vicky Krieps, it was kind of funny because she's followed them up through the parking structure. He runs past her, and she's like, "Hey, Beckett!"
Sorry. And my final note is, how long is this day? Because this all seems to take place in one day. And it doesn't even turn to night. And we're told in the beginning that from where he is, like Ayalona or whatever little small village town he's
Outside Metsovo.
it will, by train, it's 5 hours. And it's already well into the day because he woke up in the hospital during the day and he's done a bunch of shit, including going back to the crash site, getting chased, shot at. He does get on the train, but only for a brief while. Then he does get a ride from the lesbian lady.
We don't know that she's a lesbian.
She's a lesbian. How? And then he's at the embassy all day. Like, I don't understand how long is this day. Then there's like an assassination attempt, protest.
Well, and then the twist being that the cops and the diplomat were trying to make it look like this far right ultra-nationalist group is responsible for the kidnapping when it's not.
I was so unsatisfied with this storytelling and the lead actor.
It's funny, if you think back of late 80s, early 90s Denzel Washington in films like The Mighty Quinn and Ricochet. It's like what we'll come to look at for John David Washington. I don't know if it will feel...
I do want people to comment, like, if you've seen it, did you think there was tension?
Oh, and also there's some notable Greek people in the periphery, including Makis Papadimitriou, who is in a really good film called Suntan from a few years ago, from the director of that film that we didn't like called Monday, starring Sebastian Stan. Another interesting film about
Greece.
Americans in Greece,
Yeah.
which maybe there were tax incentives, but...
Beautiful country.
Yeah, again, I think this is more about Greece than it is about any of the characters or the narrative device in the plot.
What would you give this film?
1 out of 5.
I would give it 1 out of 5 as well. Thank you.